So taking a small tangent, as we talked about offline, you have a background in Taekwondo.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned Elon Musk. I've trained with both. Just as a quick question, who do you have? Who are you betting on in a fight?
Well, I refuse to answer that. I will say this.
Such a politician you are.
Yeah, of course. Here I'm a politician. I'm openly telling you that I'm dodging the question, okay? But I'll say this. I spent 5 years in our special forces in the military, and we barely spent a minute on martial arts. I actually learned Taekwondo later when I came to it wasn't even at MIT. At MIT, I think I did karate, but when I came to the UN, I had a martial arts expert, and he taught me Taekwondo, which was kind of interesting. Now, the question you really have to ask is, why didn't we learn martial arts in this special elite unit?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is, there's no point. If you saw Indiana Jones, there's no point. You just, pull the trigger. That's simple. Now, I don't expect anyone to pull the trigger on this combat, and I'm sure you'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, martial arts it's bigger than just combat. It's this kind of journey of humility, and
sure.
It has it's an art form. It truly is an art.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating that these two figures in tech are facing each other, and I won't ask a question of who you would face and how you would do, but
well, I'm facing opponents all the time.
All the time?
Yeah, that's part of life.
But not
part of life. Part of life is
not yet.
I'm not sure about that.
Are you announcing fights? Okay.
No. Part of life is competition. The only time competition ends is death. But political life, economic life, cultural life is engaged continuously in creativity and competition. And the problem I have with that, as I mentioned earlier, just before we began the podcast, is that at a certain point, you want to put barriers to monopoly. And if you're a really able competitor, you're going to create a monopoly. That's what Peter Thiel says is a natural course of things. It's what I learned basically in the Boston Consulting Group. If you're a very able competitor, you'll create scale advantages that give you the ability to lock out your competition. And as a prime minister, I want to assure that there is competition in the market, so you have to limit this competitive power at a certain point. And that becomes increasingly hard in a world where everything is intermeshed. Where do you define market segments? Where do you define monopoly? How do you do that? That is that actually conceptually I find very challenging, because of all the dozens of of economic reforms that I've made, the most difficult part is the conceptual part. Once you've ironed it out, you say, here's what I want to do, here's the right thing to do, then you have a practical problem of overcoming union resistance, political resistance, press calumny, opponents from this or that corner. That's a practical matter. But if you have it conceptually defined, you can move ahead to reform economies or reform education or reform transportation. Fine. And the question of the growing power of large companies, big tech companies, to monopolize the markets because they're better at it. They provide a service. They provide it at lower cost, at rapidly declining cost. Where do you stop? Where do you stop monopoly power is a crucial question, because it also becomes now a political question. If you amass enormous amount of economic power, which is information power, that also monopolizes the political process, which creates these are real questions that are not obvious. I don't have an obvious answer because, as I said, as a 19th century Democrat, these are questions of the 21st century, which people should begin to think. Do you have a solution to that?
The solution of monopolies growing arbitrarily, unstoppably in power.
In economic power and therefore in political power.
I mean, some of that is regulation. Some of that is competition.
You know where to draw the line? It's not breaking up AT&T. It's not that simple.
Well, I believe in the power of competition, that there will always be somebody that challenges the big guys, especially in the space of AI. The more open source movements are taking hold, the more the little guy can become the big guy.
So you're saying basically the regulatory instrument is the market.
In large part, in most part,
Mhm.
that's the hope. Maybe I'm a dreamer.
That's been in many ways my policy up to now. Okay, that the best regulator is the market. The best regulator in economic activity is the market, and the best regulator in political matters is the political market. That's called elections. That's what regulates. You know, you have a lousy government, and people make lousy decisions. Well, you don't need the wise men raised above the masses to decide what is good and what is bad. Let the masses decide. Let them vote every 4 years or whatever, and they throw you up. By the way, it happened to me. There's life after political death. There's actually political life. I was reelected 5 or 6 times, and this is my 6th term. So, I believe in that. I'm not sure that in economic matters, in the geometric growth of tech companies, that you'll always have the little guy, the nimble mammal that will come out and slay the dinosaurs or overcome the dinosaurs, which is essentially what you said.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out the little guy.
You wouldn't count out the little guy. Well, I hope you're right.